Hello Year 1. This is our starter for today. We're going to be using this money website to revise about money and also about some of the sharing and the multiplication that we've been doing as well. So let's have a look. First of all, I'd like you to think about how many 10 pences I would need to make 40 pence. So have a think about your answer. How many 10 pences? 10, 20, 30, 40. So we could say 4 times 10 is 40, or 4 lots of 10 pence makes 40 pence. Let's have a look at another one. How many more 5 pences do I need to make 20 pence? How many more? Let's test. So we needed 2 more. We had 2 5 pences and we had to add 1, 2 more to make 20 pence. And this time, how many lots of 10 pence do you need to be equal to a pound? How many lots of 10 pence do you need to be equal to a pound? Let's have a look. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 pence or a pound. So we need 10 lots of 10 pence to make a pound. Let's look at our 2's next. This can help us with doubling. How many lots of 2 do I need to make 12? How many lots of 2 to make 12? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And see if you can picture what half of 12 would be. If we just had half of those coins, let's get rid of half to see. 2, 4, 6. Half of 12 was 6. And let's just do one more like that. Make a bigger amount. Some people get stuck when they get to these bigger numbers. Okay, so here we've got 18. So have a think about what half of 18 pence would be. Let's look at how many 2 pences we've got. Go try and get them. So we've got half on one side. Now this is a bit tricky because this 2 doesn't know where to go. So I think what I'm going to do is swap it here for a 1 and a 1. So I've still got 18 pence. Let's look at how many is in each half. 2, 4, 6, 8, and one more was 9. Half of 18 was 9. On Thursday's lesson we were looking at half of numbers. Today we're going to be looking at halves of different shapes and do our first lesson on finding a half. It's going to be a practical lesson with some cutting out. Let me just get it so we can get the next slide. So this is something you could try at home. Folding a piece of paper in half. This is a good activity for art and DT as well, if you can match up the corners and make it as close to a half as possible. So see if there are different ways you can do that. Can you have your paper at different angles? And try and make sure that it's exactly a half. And half means splitting something into 2 equal parts. This paper has first of all had a line down the middle. This one's been cut. So we've used this word a lot at the moment. So when we're doing halving, when we were sharing, we were making equal groups. When we're halving, we're making 2 equal parts. And 2 halves make a whole. So if you think about the chocolate cake poem my class like, Michael Rosen, he eats a whole chocolate cake. He eats all of it. So 2 halves make a whole. So when we're thinking about shapes, we can think about matching by looking at which shape matches up. So we've got our whole shape from the 2 halves. So we can see this one, these both have curved edges. They go together to make a half. Think about what shape this one would make if you put it together. I can visualise it making a triangle. And for all of these, you can see that both halves are the same shape. They might be flipped over, but they are the same shape. So for some of these, you have to have a look and think about which way to go. For my pencil, I wouldn't cut it down the middle here because then one half would look different to the other. So let's have a look at ways to halve. So our balloon, we can go straight down the middle. We can imagine if we folded that, both halves would be the same. For our pencil, if we cut it in this direction, so horizontally and vertically, some more maths words, to get half of those objects. For these, there's only one way of halving them. For our paper, there were different ways, which we're going to look at the end of this. And for these objects, so here are some different ways of halving the donut. We could go this way, this way. We could actually go this way, this way. There are absolutely loads, in fact, infinite ways if you've got a circle of cutting it in half. The lines can go in lots of different directions. And the sweet here, we could cut it horizontally and vertically. So some objects, there might be only one way of cutting it in half, and other objects, there might be lots of different ways. Now it's a shorter input today because you're going to be doing lots of exploring of halving, and you've got some worksheets that show different pictures to halve. Here is what your worksheets look like. So there's two different ones. This one is a little bit easier, and this one is a little bit trickier. So I don't mind if you want to cut out the shapes and cut them in half. The other thing you can do is use a ruler and draw the line to show where you would cut them. If you get stuck, think about turning your paper different angles and you can see different ways that you might be able to cut them up. And this is an alternative if you don't have access to a printer. This shows that you can fold a piece of paper in half and you can draw a shape. Cut it out, and then when you open it up, you'll be able to see a shape that is cut in half. So that's an alternative if you're not able to print. There are also some reasoning problems, and I'm going to go through those in a separate video that you can watch at the end of the lesson.